Ava sat quietly in the back of the classroom. Her seat was near the window, away from the laughter, the gossip, and the cruel eyes. Her hoodie swallowed her body. She kept her head low. She was used to the stares, used to the snickers. The whispers were no longer whispers. They were loud and intentional. Look at her. She's like a walking elephant. That was Adam. Tall, athletic, always surrounded by other boys who laughed at every word he said. Ava clenched her fists, but she said nothing. Someone passed by her desk and threw a crumpled paper onto it. On it was a drawing, a pig with curly hair and big glasses, just like hers. She looked up slowly. Annie stood a few desks away, grinning. Perfect hair, designer shoes, the daughter of the principal. She ruled the school without mercy. Ava's chest burned, but she remained still. Speaking back only made things worse. She had tried that once and spent the next week with cruel messages in her locker and food dumped on her chair. Her phone buzzed under the desk. A message from an unknown number. It was a photo of her eating lunch under the staircase. Captioned, "Hungry, hungry hippo." She bit her lip. Her parents wouldn't care. Her mom worked 2 jobs at the hospital. Her dad was either asleep or traveling. They barely looked at her anymore. She wanted to scream, to run, but instead, she sat through class as if nothing happened. During lunch, she took her food and headed to her usual spot, behind the gym, on a bench no one used. The other students filled the cafeteria with noise and popularity contests. She ate alone, chewing slowly, every bite heavier than the last. She checked her reflection in her phone. Round cheeks, puffy eyes, acne on her chin. She hated looking at herself. Later that day, everything fell apart. In science class, she was flipping through her textbook when Annie snatched it off her desk. "What are you reading?" "How to Be a Whale." The class laughed. Ava's hand shook. "Give it back." "Oh, she talks now." Then Adam chimed in. Maybe she's learning how to roll herself to class faster, or float through the halls like a blimp. Someone threw another paper ball at her head. "Enough." The teacher's voice rang out. Mr. Clark marched forward and grabbed the textbook from Annie's hands. He looked furious. "All 3 of you. My office. Now." Ava stood slowly. Her legs felt weak. They were led down the hall. Ava hoped, just a little. Maybe this time someone would listen. Maybe someone would finally see. Inside the small office, Mr. Clark closed the door. "This has gone on too long. Ava has every right to be here like everyone else. Annie, Adam, this is serious." Annie rolled her eyes. "My father is the principal. Do you want me to tell him you yelled at me?" Mr. Clark paused. His shoulders sank. Let's talk this through calmly. Maybe we misunderstood something." Ava stared at him in disbelief. Her one chance at justice crumbled again. "You can go back to class." Outside, Annie smiled. "Told you, no one cares what you say, Piggy." Ava didn't go back to class. She walked straight home. Every step felt like she was dragging chains. When she opened the door, the house was empty as always. A cold leftover meal on the table. A note from her mom, working overtime again. "Eat if you want." She sat on the floor of her room, silent. The mirror in front of her showed a defeated girl, but deep in her chest, something was growing. Something sharp, something powerful. They wanted her to stay invisible, to stay broken. That night, Ava couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with every insult, every laugh, every cruel whisper that echoed in the halls of her school. The pig drawings, the hippo messages, the silence from the teachers, the betrayal of the adults who were supposed to protect her. She sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the floor, her hands curled into fists. Her throat was dry. Her eyes burned from holding back tears. She stood up slowly and walked to the mirror on her wall. Her reflection stared back, swollen and tired, hair a mess, skin dull, a shadow of the girl she could have been. And yet, she whispered to herself, "No more. She opened her laptop and typed how to lose weight safely. Her screen filled with videos, articles, and transformation stories. Girls who were once mocked and ignored, now strong and radiant. Not because they chased approval, but because they stopped waiting for permission to change. She saved a few workout routines, downloaded a beginner diet plan. She took a notebook and wrote on the first page in bold letters, "This is the beginning." The next morning, she woke up at 5 a.m. She rolled out of bed, body heavy and unwilling, but she forced herself to stand. She slipped into old sweatpants and a loose shirt. In the living room, she followed the workout on her screen. 10 minutes in, her legs trembled. Her shirt clung to her back from sweat. Her breathing was loud. She wanted to stop, but she didn't. Not today. After 30 minutes, she collapsed on the floor, chest heaving. But for the first time in a long time, her exhaustion came with a hint of pride. The soreness was proof. She showered and packed her lunch. No chips, no soda, just a grilled chicken wrap and a bottle of water. She walked to school, head still low but steps a little firmer. At lunch, she still sat behind the gym, but she smiled as she took a bite of her wrap. It wasn't about punishment, it was about power. Days passed, then weeks. She woke up early, she exercised. She swapped sugar for fruit, fried food for salad, soda for water. She started washing her face every morning and night, brushing her hair carefully, taking care of herself like she finally mattered. The change was slow, almost invisible to others, but Ava felt it. Her body was lighter, her skin was clearer, her mind was sharper, and her pain turned into purpose. Every time she ran out of breath during a workout, she pictured Annie's face. Every time she craved sweets, she remembered Adam's voice calling her a blimp. And every time she felt like giving up, she looked at her notebook. This is the beginning. One Saturday, she passed by a thrift store and saw a dusty full-length mirror in the window. She used her saved lunch money to buy it. She placed it in her room. Every morning, she stood in front of it and whispered, "Not yet, but soon." At school, she didn't talk much, but the stares began to change. A few people noticed. Her clothes fit differently, her posture straighter, her face slimmer. She ignored them all. She wasn't doing this for their attention. She was doing it for the girl they tried to erase. 3 months passed since Ava began her silent war. Her body, once the target of laughter, had begun to shift. Her cheeks were no longer round. Her jawline was sharper. Her waist had definition. The clothes that once clung awkwardly to her form now hung loose. She had to punch a new hole in her belt just to keep her jeans from falling. She still wore the same neutral colors, still kept her voice low in class, but her steps were firmer, her presence different, and people were noticing. Whispers followed her in the halls again, but they sounded different this time. Is that Ava? No way! She looks good. Even the boys who used to laugh when she walked by now stared, their eyes trailing her form with a strange mix of surprise and confusion. In gym class, she no longer walked the track with her head down. She ran. Each lap was a victory. Each drop of sweat proof that she was rewriting her story. Coach Ramirez called her over after class one day. "You've changed. Whatever you're doing, keep going. Proud of you." It was the first time anyone at school had said something positive to her face. In the locker room, one of the girls glanced at her. "Hey Ava, what skincare do you use?" Ava turned slowly, unsure if it was a joke, but the girl looked sincere. "Just cleanser and moisturizer. Nothing special." The girl nodded. "Well, it's working. Your skin looks really good." Ava blinked. She didn't know how to respond, so she just nodded and left. That evening, she looked in the mirror longer than usual. Her skin did glow. Her eyes weren't dull anymore. She was beginning to see her own beauty, bit by bit. At home, her mum finally noticed something too. "Have you been losing weight?" Ava looked up from her salad. "Yeah, I've been working out, eating better." Her mum looked surprised but nodded. "Well, keep it up. You look healthy." It wasn't a long conversation, but it felt like a milestone. She pulled out her notebook again. Day 92. They're starting to see it. But I saw it first, and that's what matters. The next day at school, a strange silence followed her into the cafeteria. She walked past the usual table where Annie and Adam sat, laughing with their group. Annie's smile faltered as Ava walked by. Adam stared a second too long. That was the moment Ava knew the power was shifting. They weren't laughing anymore. They were watching. And that was only the beginning. Ava began wearing clothes that complemented her new shape. Nothing flashy, just fitted enough to show that she was no longer hiding. She swapped oversized hoodies for simple blouses, tight buns for soft waves in her hair. Her confidence was quiet but unshakable. She still sat in the back of the class, but now people turned to look. They didn't whisper insults. They whispered curiosity. Did you see Ava today? She looks like a different person. During art class, she submitted a self-portrait. Her old self in the background, hair tangled, eyes empty. In the foreground, a girl standing strong with fire in her eyes. Her classmates stared at it longer than the others. The teacher called it brave. At lunch, a junior girl walked over to her table. Hey, sorry to bother you. Are you on a diet or something? You look amazing. Can I ask what workouts you do? Ava smiled softly. Just cardio. And strength training? 30 minutes a day. Nothing crazy. The girl nodded in admiration before walking off. Ava returned to her meal. Grilled chicken, veggies, water. She no longer craved the junk. Her body had adapted. Her mind had sharpened. The hallway was no longer a battlefield. It was a runway. Every step she took left silence behind. No paper balls, no cruel drawings, just stares and envy. Adam walked past her near the lockers. Hey Ava, you look different. She raised an eyebrow. So do you, a little shorter now that I'm not crawling. He laughed awkwardly, but she had already walked away. Later that day, her phone buzzed. A message from a local pageant committee. It was an invitation to apply for the Rising Miss City competition, a scholarship event that celebrated transformation and self-discipline. Someone had nominated her anonymously. She stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered, then she clicked apply. That night she opened her journal. Day 108. I walked through the fire they built for me. And I didn't just survive, I became something they can't ignore. In the school courtyard the next morning, Annie passed her on the steps. Her eyes scanned Ava from head to toe. Enjoy the attention. It won't last. Ava didn't even stop. It already lasted longer than your relevance. Students nearby gasped. Some laughed. Annie stood frozen. The power had shifted, and Ava was just getting started. The orientation day for Miss City Youth arrived faster than Ava expected. She wore a fitted white blouse and dark slacks, simple but elegant. Her hair flowed in soft curls, her skin glowing from the months of skincare and dedication. As she entered the event hall, dozens of girls were already there, chatting, laughing, some with nervous smiles. Ava walked in quietly, but her presence turned heads. She didn't try to draw attention. She didn't have to. The coordinator handed her a welcome folder. You must be Ava. We've heard quite a bit about you. Your application essay was inspiring. Thank you. She found her seat among the other finalists. They were all beautiful, polished, confident. But Ava didn't feel intimidated. Not anymore. The first session began with a question from the host. Why do you want to be here? Girls raised their hands with practiced answers. To build confidence, to represent young women, to grow a platform. When it was Ava's turn, she stood slowly. I'm here because I was told I didn't belong, because I was called names that followed me home. I want to show every girl hiding in the corner of her classroom that she is not what they say. She is what she chooses to become. The room went quiet. Then, quiet clapping began, not polite, genuine. After orientation, a few girls approached her. I read about you. Your story is amazing. You're so brave. I wish I had your strength. Ava nodded humbly, still adjusting to this new world where people respected her, not pitied her. That night, she stood in front of her full-length mirror. Her dress for the formal photo shoot hung beside her closet, a soft blue gown with a satin finish. Nothing too flashy, but it made her feel powerful. She touched her reflection. I am no longer hiding. The next morning at school, more posters appeared in the hallway. Ava Thompson, Miss City Youth finalist, with a photo of her from orientation. The whispers returned, but this time they said, she's seriously stunning. Is that really Ava? What the hell happened? Even Adam stood in silence when he saw her pass. No insults, no pig noises, just silence and shame. In the middle of lunch, Annie approached her table for the first time in months. Her smile was forced, her voice sugar-coated. So, I heard you're doing some pageant thing. That's cute. Ava looked up slowly. It's not cute. It's history. And you're welcome to keep watching from the sidelines. Annie's smile faded. You think you're better than me now. Ava didn't blink. I know I'm better than who I used to be. That's all that matters. The conversation ended there. Ava walked away, head high, shoulders proud. Her revenge was not in cruel words or public scenes. It was in becoming untouchable. The orientation day for Miss City Youth arrived faster than Ava expected. She wore a fitted white blouse and dark slacks, simple but elegant. Her hair flowed in soft curls, her skin glowing from the months of skincare and dedication. As she entered the event hall, dozens of girls were already there, chatting, laughing, some with nervous smiles. Ava walked in quietly, but her presence turned heads. She didn't try to draw attention. She didn't have to. The coordinator handed her a welcome folder. You must be Ava. We've heard quite a bit about you. Your application essay was inspiring. Thank you. She found her seat among the other finalists. They were all beautiful, polished, confident, but Ava didn't feel intimidated. Not anymore. The first session began with a question from the host. Why do you want to be here? Girls raised their hands with practiced answers. To build confidence, to represent young women, to grow a platform. When it was Ava's turn, she stood slowly. I'm here because I was told I didn't belong, because I was called names that followed me home. I want to show every girl hiding in the corner of her classroom that she is not what they say. She is what she chooses to become. The room went quiet. Then, quiet clapping began, not polite, genuine. After orientation, a few girls approached her. I read about you. Your story is amazing. You're so brave. I wish I had your strength. Ava nodded humbly, still adjusting to this new world where people respected her, not pitied her. That night, she stood in front of her full-length mirror. Her dress for the formal photo shoot hung beside her closet, a soft blue gown with a satin finish. Nothing too flashy, but it made her feel powerful. She touched her reflection. I am no longer hiding. The next morning at school, more posters appeared in the hallway. Ava Thompson, Miss City Youth finalist, with a photo of her from orientation. The whispers returned, but this time they said, she's seriously stunning. Is that really Ava? What the hell happened? Even Adam stood in silence when he saw her pass. No insults, no pig noises, just silence and shame. In the middle of lunch, Annie approached her table for the first time in months. Her smile was forced, her voice sugar-coated. So, I heard you're doing some pageant thing. That's cute. Ava looked up slowly. It's not cute. It's history. And you're welcome to keep watching from the sidelines. Annie's smile faded. You think you're better than me now. Ava didn't blink. I know I'm better than who I used to be. That's all that matters. The conversation ended there. Ava walked away, head high, shoulders proud. Her revenge was not in cruel words or public scenes. It was in becoming untouchable. The orientation day for Miss City Youth arrived faster than Ava expected. She wore a fitted white blouse and dark slacks, simple but elegant. Her hair flowed in soft curls, her skin glowing from the months of skincare and dedication. As she entered the event hall, dozens of girls were already there, chatting, laughing, some with nervous smiles. Ava walked in quietly, but her presence turned heads. She didn't try to draw attention. She didn't have to. The coordinator handed her a welcome folder. "You must be Ava. We've heard quite a bit about you. Your application essay was inspiring." "Thank you." She found her seat among the other finalists. They were all beautiful, polished, confident. But Ava didn't feel intimidated. Not anymore. The first session began with a question from the host. "Why do you want to be here?" Girls raised their hands with practiced answers. To build confidence, to represent young women, to grow a platform. When it was Ava's turn, she stood slowly. "I'm here because I was told I didn't belong, because I was called names that followed me home. I want to show every girl hiding in the corner of her classroom that she is not what they say. She is what she chooses to become." The room went quiet. Then, quiet clapping began, not polite, genuine. After orientation, a few girls approached her. "I read about you. Your story is amazing. You're so brave. I wish I had your strength." Ava nodded humbly, still adjusting to this new world where people respected her, not pitied her. That night, she stood in front of her full-length mirror. Her dress for the formal photo shoot hung beside her closet, a soft blue gown with a satin finish. Nothing too flashy, but it made her feel powerful. She touched her reflection. "I am no longer hiding." The next morning at school, more posters appeared in the hallway. Ava Thompson, Miss City Youth finalist, with a photo of her from orientation. The whispers returned, but this time they said, "She's seriously stunning." Is that really Ava? What the hell happened? Even Adam stood in silence when he saw her pass. No insults, no pig noises, just silence and shame. In the middle of lunch, Annie approached her table for the first time in months. Her smile was forced, her voice sugar-coated. "So, I heard you're doing some pageant thing. That's cute." Ava looked up slowly. "It's not cute. It's history. And you're welcome to keep watching from the sidelines." Annie's smile faded. "You think you're better than me now." Ava didn't blink. "I know I'm better than who I used to be. That's all that matters." The conversation ended there. Ava walked away, head high, shoulders proud. Her revenge was not in cruel words or public scenes. It was in becoming untouchable. The day of the final Miss City Youth showcase arrived with the sun shining brightly over the city. Ava woke up early, her heart steady, not nervous, not afraid, just ready. Her gown hung beside the door, pressed and perfect. Her heels sat beneath it, polished. On the dresser was a simple silver necklace with a small pearl, the only thing her mother had given her before disappearing into the rhythm of work again. She dressed in silence, did her own makeup, and walked out the door before anyone else woke up. At the venue, the crowd filled the auditorium. Parents, teachers, photographers, and news reporters packed the seats. Ava stood backstage with the other contestants, each of them dressed in stunning gowns, faces radiant under the stage lights. But all eyes drifted toward Ava. Even among diamonds, she sparkled differently. The first round was introductions. Each contestant stepped forward, smiled and waved. When Ava's name was called, the applause was louder. The judges whispered to one another as she glided across the stage. She wasn't just beautiful, she was undeniable. Next came the talent round. Ava had prepared a monologue, not just a performance, but a confession from the heart. When it was her turn, she stepped onto the stage and took a deep breath. She spoke clearly, her voice echoing across the hall. "I grew up believing I was the joke, the one you laugh at, not with. They called me names. They drew pigs on my locker. They said no one would ever love a girl like me. But they didn't know I was listening. They didn't know I was planning. And they didn't know I would rise." Silence filled the room. Not even the cameras clicked. She continued, "I didn't change to impress them. I changed to rescue myself, to find the girl buried under their cruelty. And now I stand here, not as a victim, but as a warrior." She ended with a soft smile and a single nod before walking off the stage. The audience erupted into applause. Backstage, one of the girls hugged her. "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen." Even the coordinator wiped a tear from her eye. Judging took place behind the scenes. While they deliberated, a slideshow of the contestants played on the big screen. When Ava's pictures appeared, from her early days to now, the room murmured. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Outside in the crowd, Adam and Annie sat awkwardly in the third row. Annie's face was stiff. Adam stared straight ahead, no longer smug. "Do you think she'll win?" Annie whispered through clenched teeth. She already did, just by being here. For the first time, Annie wasn't the center of attention, and she hated it. Ava, backstage, waited calmly, her hands folded in her lap, her head held high. She had already won her greatest battle, not against them, but against who they made her believe she was. The stage lights dimmed as the host returned with the results. The top 5 finalists were called, and Ava's name was the last one announced. The crowd clapped with rising excitement. Her heart didn't race, it stayed calm, grounded in everything she had already survived. Each finalist was asked one last question. What advice would you give to someone who feels invisible? The microphone passed from one contestant to another. When it reached Ava, she took a pause, then spoke with unwavering strength. "You are never invisible to the person you are becoming. They see you. They are waiting for you. So don't wait for the world to notice you. Notice yourself first. Love yourself first. And then rise." Applause followed, some people standing up. In the crowd, a reporter scribbled down every word. A teacher from Ava's school whispered to another, "That girl, she used to be silent. Look at her now." The final moment arrived. The host stepped forward, holding the envelope with the winner's name. The lights focused on the 5 girls, each holding their breath. Ava didn't hope. She didn't wish. She simply waited. And the winner of this year's Miss City Youth is Ava Thompson. The room exploded. Ava stepped forward slowly as the crown was placed on her head. Cameras flashed. Confetti rained from above. Her lips trembled, but no tears came. She was beyond tears. The sash draped over her shoulders read, "Miss City Youth Champion." As she turned to the audience, her eyes locked with Annie's. The once untouchable queen now sat still. No applause in her hands, just a clenched jaw and lowered gaze. Ava didn't smirk. She didn't gloat. She gave Annie the same look she gave the mirror every morning. Peace. Later, after the ceremony ended, people crowded her. Reporters asked questions. Parents wanted selfies with their daughters beside her. Ava answered with grace, but her mind was still and quiet inside. Outside the auditorium, she finally stepped into the night air. Alone for a moment, that's when Adam approached her again. Slower this time. No smirk. No pretend charm. "I just wanted to say, you were amazing. Like, really? We were all wrong about you." She looked at him, her crown catching the moonlight. "You weren't wrong. You were cruel. And that's different." He nodded, shame heavy on his face. "Do you think we could ever start over? Maybe talk sometime?" Ava stepped back slightly. "You spent years tearing me down. I spent one building myself up. I won't trade that for your guilt." She walked away. The crown on her head wasn't just a title. It was a shield, forged in pain, polished with effort. That night, she returned home. Her father was asleep, her mother still at work. But Ava stood in front of the mirror, crown in hand, gown still flowing. She whispered, "I became the girl they never believed I could be." And she smiled, because she wasn't finished yet. 2 months after the Miss City Youth event, Ava stood at the steps of a tall marble building in New York City. She wasn't just a local name anymore. Her story had spread. News outlets had written articles. She had been invited to talk shows. Magazines asked for interviews. Schools reached out for her to speak to students. But the most surreal part came when she was nominated as one of the candidates for the National Miss Rising Star Awards, a recognition given to young women who had overcome great adversity and inspired others through transformation and resilience. Ava walked into the grand ballroom that night, wearing a navy satin dress with silver accents. Cameras flashed. Judges and mentors greeted her like she was already a winner. In many ways, she was. Back home, her school hosted a watch party in the auditorium. Every seat was filled. Her name echoed across the halls, where she had once been laughed at. Adam sat quietly in the back row, his eyes on the giant screen. Annie sat 3 seats away, arms folded. She hadn't smiled in weeks. The host at the event took the stage and spoke about the importance of courage, perseverance, and grace under pressure. Then the moment came. The 2025 Miss Rising Star of America goes to Ava Thompson. As applause thundered, Ava rose slowly, gracefully, and walked to the stage. Her speech was already written, but in that moment, she chose to speak from the heart. I never imagined standing here. There was a time I couldn't even stand to look in a mirror. A time I believed what they said about me, that I wasn't enough, that I'd always be a joke. But pain, when turned inward, becomes poison. When turned outward, it becomes power. I chose power. I chose peace. And I chose me. She paused. This isn't just my win. This is for every kid sitting alone at lunch. Every girl who gets called names because she's different. You are not the problem. Their cruelty is. And one day, you will rise so high, they won't be able to reach you. Not even with a regret. Standing ovation. Across the country, Ava's name trended online. People shared her speech. Celebrities reposted her photo with captions like, "This girl is the definition of strength." Back at school, everything had changed. Teachers used her story as a lesson. Bullies grew quiet. Even Annie withdrew from the spotlight. Her confidence shaken, not by Ava's beauty, but by her brilliance. One afternoon, Ava returned to the school for a surprise visit. Students crowded around her. Some cried, some cheered. She spoke to a group of freshmen who were struggling to fit in. I used to walk these halls with my head down. Now I walk in knowing who I am. And so will you. Just promise me you'll keep going. Before she left, a teacher asked if she would allow her picture to hang in the school's Hall of Inspiration. She nodded. The photo they chose wasn't from the pageant. It was a candid shot of her smiling, holding a book, her crown tilted slightly, her eyes kind and powerful. Underneath it, they engraved a single line, from forgotten to unforgettable.